Lovely girl, won't you stay? Won't you stay? Stay with me. All my life I was blind, now I see.
Good afternoon, you're listening to the Fourth Estate on Radio Brunel, Brunel University student-run station. This is the show that we talk about the main issues and news of the week. It is a glorious Friday afternoon, and currently the time is now 4 p.m. as we run through the news and the top headlines of the week. Starting with our guest today, we've only got two people in the house today. We've got Federica and a new guest, Sarah Barrett. Give us a little, intro to who you are, guys. Woman, actually, sorry.
Woman. Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Federica. I'm an MA International student.
Hello, I'm Sarah. I am an MA Journalism student.
There you go. You have it, Federica and Sarah. It's Federica and Sarah, not Sarah. I don't know why I said Sarah. So, we've got a news structure to our show today. We'll be talking about the headlines and the front pages of the major publications in the UK. So, we've got the pictures in front of us, and so far we've got the Daily Telegraph, the Daily Mail, the Sun, the Times, and the Independent. So, starting with the Independent, the headline is, "The world gets rich from British public services." The Sun is, "Only here for the sneers." Daily Mail is, "Hospital and legal threat to evict the elderly." Telegraph is, "Farage, we're on the march." And the Times is, "Police struggle to trap tech-savvy terrorists." Seeing the headlines in front of you women, of you girls, this is really hard to like. I don't use it.
You can call us girls, Jim. It's fine. I don't feel offended.
Ladies, ladies. I know it's so bad. Seeing the front pages, ladies, what do you make of these covering different issues first?
So I think that the front page of the Sun is very catchy with this news based on the tweet of the MPs.
Very bad.
And based on snob Labour MPs Twitter, they get white van men's England flags. And it's really, really interesting as a news because she had to pull out. Emily Thornberry tweeted this van and his house in Rochester with the flag, saying that for her was remarkable to see a house with 3 flags, but it actually was perceived as a completely snob tweet, so she had to pull out. And the leader of her party, the Labour Party, was really in anger with her.
I mean, it seems a little extreme, perhaps, because I don't know whether you agree, Jim, but I think quite frequently this is the view that you get from Rochester. And given that UKIP have just been elected, I don't think it's completely out of context.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think she had to resign as shadow office just because of that.
I think she certainly had to apologise.
Yeah. But
she did. She did apologise, trying to explain that her attitude was completely different from what was perceived from Twitter feed.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that would have been enough. I don't think that she should have resigned over it.
It's ridiculous, and I'm just like, are we too touchy about things like this nowadays when it comes to elections and everything? It's just,
I think that if UKIP took the mick out of a stereotypical Labour voter, there's no way that one of them would have resigned over that. But because it's Labour taking the mick out of the typical UKIP voter, that's completely unacceptable.
Sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to the UKIP afterwards when we have a story that UKIP is now UKIP called Tories BNP-lite. But we'll go back to that afterwards. That's our next story.
Okay.
Yeah, Federica, you have something to say?
No, that she was kind of stigmatized because she said, obviously, she's living, in a house from 3 million sterling a month, kind of in North London. And so that's why her attitude was perceived in that way. But still, can't say that was justified, though.
Yeah, no, it was a very derogatory statement, definitely. And it was unacceptable.
Okay.
Should she have resigned?
Okay, and our next headline after the Sun is now the Independent. It's a bit weird, they've got how the world gets rich from privatising British public services, and they've got a picture of Boris Johnson on the front page.
Boris Johnson is always perfect for the front page, as we've said before.
It's such clickbait, it's just really weird. So the story is that millions that go to foreign state-owned public services. Apparently, foreign governments are making hundreds of millions of pounds a year running British public services, according to an independent investigation highlighting how privatisation is benefiting overseas.
As opposed to the British taxpayer.
Yeah, which is a bit weird. I mean,
Yeah.
Scandal.
Yeah.
They said that there's companies owns mainly train services and water services, like companies for train and water, and they actually have good profit out of the British government that uses privatization. It's been said that while privatization was meant to bring the business of the corporate sector into public utilities, it has the opposite, allow foreign governments and their state-owned operators to make vast profit out of the UK. So
it says in the past 2 years alone, overseas taxpayers have taken dividends totalling nearly $1 billion from companies which make their profits from UK households and passengers, which is an extortionate amount.
Yeah, and the major winners for the rail and bus industry is German and French taxpayers, with German state-owned Deutsche Bahn and French state-owned, I don't know how to say that name, Kilos, I don't know, running large chunks of the rail network. And then they also examine water companies, but they're mostly owned by private equity firms with controversial tax avoidance strategies, which is, as you would normally expect from companies nowadays, trying to avoid paying tax. Only one water company is state-owned, which is Yorkshire Water, and then 26% is owned by Singapore's government sovereign wealth fund. I mean, this is a thing that I want to read on you. It's not about a Labour MP having to resign from a position and shut it off.
Yeah, that's a real news. But why the government didn't realize this before? Like, why they've used this privatization thinking that was making good profit for them, and then in the end, actually,
I think privatization is kind of a short-term thing, isn't it? But in cases like these, it's really not done the British public any favours whatsoever.
Yeah,
so
it's just
they love Europe even less than before, actually, because just to say that is the German and French taxpayer, they're the biggest player about train companies' lines. So Europe is a big topic in these days, and now probably they have other reason to not definitely love Europe.
I'm sure it's going to come up again with the referendum coming up. I mean, they're going to mention it all over the papers now. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, obviously you can privatize companies to get more money into the economy. Having companies from foreign companies buying into, utilities from the UK, but then the money doesn't go to anywhere but just back.
It's being filtered out,
exactly,
which is exactly the opposite of what they were trying to achieve in the first place.
But obviously, if you privatize a company, who is the buyer would like to have a profit out of it.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's the rule of privatization.
Absolutely.
That's great. Next, moving on to the Times. The Times headline is "Police struggle to trap tech-savvy terrorists." It is a bit of a connection to a show we did 2 weeks ago, I think, when we talk about the Met Police and the GCHQ saying that internet, is now making it easier for terrorists to recruit and terrorists to plan their events, with ISIS using Twitter and social media to recruit ISIS militants. So, yeah, it's a bit of an interesting story.
It is, yeah. I can't say much about it.
Is talking about there's a ability of Britain's intelligence chief to monitor the terrorists, and is a huge threat. Is linked probably as well with the beheading plot and the 3 terrorism suspect in courts that was making the headline yesterday as well. And there's 3 terrorism suspects that were involved in a plot, beheaded a member of the British public when they were arrested, and they were in court yesterday. And
they were planning this all over the internet?
Yeah. I'm not sure about where they planned this, but it's linked because they were found in West London as well. Uxbridge, West London was the area where these terrorists were found. And it's huge, the alarm about terrorism, and the control at the airport is a really, really huge topic in this moment. Was on the headline in the morning as well. the control on Islamic school in West London. They were making headline at the BBC as well.
Detectives are increasingly resorting to physical surveillance as the electronic monitoring of jihadist suspects becomes patchier and more uncertain after leaks by the whistleblower Edward Snowden and the installation of sophisticated encryption on mobile phones.
Yeah, like found actually the news that I was talking about before is the BBC's Islam only focus at Muslim school, and the first para said the first of 6 damning Oxford report on private Muslim schools in East London reveals pupils did not know the difference between Sharia and British law. So yeah, they're really, really worried about this, about the
impact that they're not doing enough to protect them from Islamism.
Yeah. So they're starting to control the school as well.
Yeah. Well, that's ending on sort of a positive note on that story. I mean, we recently had the beheading of Peter Kasich, and Abdul Rahman Peter Kasich, who's the American aid worker, and that was just, I think, when I read it on the news, when I read it on the paper, it was really, really sad. But recently, the parents of who took him as an adopted child have tweeted saying they proudly that they know that they had adopted his son, and they've always been, always will be grateful that his birth mother, Ronan Schwitt, chose us to be his parents. And I think it's a bit of a nice thing to have after seeing all these, beheadings and all these it's really emotional stories, I think.
Yeah, emotional reaction from the family. Peter Kasich was really, really keen on helping people, was really young. And since it was in his 20s, I think he left his home country to help people and to go with this organization that actually was covering places where other organizations weren't able to go, because it was really, really frightening, actually. And yeah,
I think it's awful. Journalists and aid workers used to be completely exempt from the fighting, and people recognised them as completely neutral, but now they're actually being used as bait, and it's a really tragic thing.
They became target. There was we had a discussion about it actually in class the other day, and talking about the fact that journalists in war zone were used to wear the recognizable sign of the press, whereas now there's no more a protection for you.
No, if anything, it can make you stand out more and make you...
Now, everyone that is helping kind of American forces, if you want to call it like that, even if the coalition is definitely bigger, it became a target. Not
It's
just
becoming
journalists.
you're Eastern or you're Western, and that's the only thing that defines you. It doesn't matter whether you're a journalist or a soldier or a aid worker.
But
it's become irrelevant.
often in the paper you have definitely a simplified reality of what ISIS is and what's going on in their territories, because the agenda setting is mainly focused on who is your enemy instead of explaining exactly what's going on in that places. Obviously, ISIS
it's more sensationalized. I think
it's really sensationalized, and I'm not sure that this is not actually helping them.
Absolutely, I agree. It's fueling our hate fire, and it's causing a bigger rift, and that's exactly what they were aiming for the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the next headline, we've got the Daily Telegraph with a picture of Farage, obviously at a pub, as he now is normally pictured, and as the man from the pub. Farage, we're on the march. So they got a weird thing. Beer swilling Nigel Farage believes he is on the march to Westminster.
Just because he won one seat.
I don't. Yeah,
I think he's getting too cocky. I mean, he shouldn't get ahead of himself.
Yeah. A bit.
We've still got a while until 2015.
And he was celebrating after UKIP crushed the main party to elect its first MP. Well, first MP.
Yeah, there's actually a bit it can be considered a crush if you consider that at the UKIP poll 21-10.
They were able to rally the whole of the nation's attention to this one Rochester by-election. They're not going to have that kind of media coverage when it comes to the whole of the general election.
That's true. Because was really sensationalized what has been said about immigration. So that's why they had this focus and this attention on them, what Mark Reckless said about immigrants and their
How do you
future
feel about that,
policy.
Frederica?
How do I feel about that? I really posted on Facebook. I really hope, like, the majority of Britons won't follow, actually, this. I recognize the fact that sometimes immigrants are, has been seen, like, as enemy more than, like, they come to take our jobs.
Absolutely,
is what,
yeah.
like, the tune that we always say. But we actually contributed your economy as well.
And we need you. We absolutely need people coming from abroad to work. It's helping our economy.
We don't really come, I'm sure, to get a free NHS service.
I know
It's correct. If you want to, like, check how the services have been utilized, like how this welfare state can help us, maybe after a while when we contributed to your taxes, but it's actually proved that we contribute more than, was more than 20,000. Don't want to say stupid data, but we
20 billion,
20 billion, I think. We gave a huge contribute at the British taxes. So.
And we'll come back to that after we finish our last headline, which is the Daily Mail. Hospital in legal threat to evict the elderly. It's worth noting that Daily Mail and Daily Telegraph had the same image of Nigel Farage at the pub. You know, it's just...
Classic Farage, isn't it?
I just can't stand his image sometimes. But, so the issue is the NHS chiefs are giving a hardline warning to families and said that families are refusing to take responsibility for their relatives and that the elderly are now abandoned in the wards even when they are fit to leave.
Yeah, the headline sounds completely different if you read the first para, because it was like they claim that the elderly are abandoned in wards even when they are fit to leave. So they don't have beds to get inside and to give attention to. They are bed blocking. So they say definitely that families refuse to take this responsibility for the elderly relatives, and so the hospital can't stand no more this situation. And about data, they said that the doctors are unable to discharge 1,000 patients every day, and the crisis is like really high. This touched the peak definitely.
I mean, hospitals are not like a drop-off center for your family.
No, they are not.
Once they're all better, you can just like leave them there, and not like just sorry, Grandpa, we can't take care of you anymore. We're too busy. This is your home now. What? That's not like how it meant to be like. No.
I think this story represents the Daily Mail's agenda and the fact that it doesn't like the NHS very much more than anything else, because it seems like an absolute puff piece, doesn't it? It's got no substance.
So
it's got a bit, but I mean, it's really weird.
So the main issue is obviously bed blocking, which is when you can't find enough beds for new patients, but people are still in bed, but they don't want to move, and it's just
lazy old people.
Yeah.
Is the Daily Mail often against the NHS?
The Daily Mail is against everything, Frederica.
Okay, that's not.
They just hate the world.
Yeah.
Okay. What they said and how the news is presented is actually pretty fine, because there is a quote from the Trust spokesman Katie Whiteside that told the BBC programme that once she had it that one family asked the hospital to keep hold for a relative while they took a 2 weeks holiday in Turkey. I mean, that's just pretty evident about the problem. And then they mentioned that as well. They said that if you had to go through the courts, they would seek to recover costs up to 5,000 sterling. So
50,000, right?
Sorry, 50,000 sterling. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just obviously they cite evidence, people saying, oh, we don't like council care, we don't like these kind of homes because apparently, in quotes, we don't like the decoration of the care homes.
It is horrible, to be fair.
We don't like the member of staff who met us at the door. It's just like...
So it's not just immigrants that, like, use NHS as they want.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
It's
interesting.
Yeah, local citizens who say, oh, we can't take care of you, we don't like our relatives. It's just not the way it's meant to be.
The service might be really, really good if you want to leave your elderly there.
So, the issue is whether can they actually do that. So, apparently hospitals can use anti-trespassing laws to evict patients from bed, which is the same thing they use to ban gangs of teenagers from shopping centres, you know. Under civil law, bed blocking is a civil offence, not a criminal act. If a patient refuses to leave after being given 48 hours of written notice, the hospital could seek a court order for possession of the bed. I mean, it's like...
You know, hospitals are for sick people. That's the bottom line.
That's how they should be used. Yeah.
It's funny though. It's like to seek an order for repossessing, getting back the bed is just like, yes, that's the main issue. The bed, you know. I want to take back the bed. It's a funny statement. I think.
I feel terribly sorry for all of these poor little old biddies who are being thrown into hospital by their relatives, only to be thrown back out by the hospital.
Yeah.
Poor old people.
It'll come worse now with winter, you know, with winter getting colder. We might be seeing snow, hopefully. I don't know.
Hopefully.
And, you know, when snow is just this kind of stuff. So, the NHS figures that were published yesterday showed that the average hospital bed occupancy rate is 87.6%, which is well above the 85% safe level. And that sort of concludes our coverage of the top front page headlines of the major publications. You know, we heard from The Independent, The Daily Telegraph, The Daily Mail, and The Sun. After we play a song, we'll come back and we'll talk about Paddington rated PG and talking about Labour's shadow officer having to resign, and Mark Reckless talking about immigration and calling Tories BNP-lite. You are listening to The Fourth Estate, and here is your next song. Good afternoon, you're listening to The Fourth Estate. My name is Jim Wong, and you are with Federica and Sarah talking about the top issues and news of the week. You just heard us talk about the top front pages and top headlines of the major publications of the UK. And now we're moving on to issues and news that we found quite interesting or alarming this week. Starting off with Paddington. Paddington the Bear. A movie coming out, I think, recently in the next few months, has been rated PG by the British Board of Film Classification, BBFC, saying there is some mild innuendo in the film. And if you want to know what this mild innuendo is, apparently the sequence where a man dressed as a woman is flirted with by another man. It's also a scene where Paddington is hiding from a villain inside a refrigerator.
That sounds very sexual.
Yes, I know. He's riding a skateboard while holding on to a bus. There's a brief scene of a boy strapping fireworks to his shoes, and there is a mumbled use of the word bloody. You know.
Oh, it's really, really, really. You have to use the word bloody really carefully. I'm sure the child won't really use it in his everyday life. I've never hear about the word bloody during the TV show right now.
Everyone uses the word bloody, young or
Plus, old. Really, I think that the sexual reality of children right now is completely different from...
I mean, how is it acceptable for children to walk into the supermarket with their parents and see page 3s as a completely acceptable thing?
Whereas Paddington has to be considered
whereas a man disguised as a woman flirting with another man. It sounds confusing, I'll grant you, but you know, that's normal, and children need to know that that's acceptable and it's fine. I think by giving it a parental guidance, they're kind of insinuating that children need to kind of have their eyes covered and need to be wrapped up in cotton wool, which I just don't think is the case.
I noticed that here, like they said, that the board defended his decision and said that the guidelines are reviewed every 4 to 5 years. Maybe right now is not even enough. Yeah.
Because look, they gave they're giving Mockingjay Part 2 Hunger Games a
12A,
and that means that any children can watch it as long as they're with an adult.
And it's a very interesting film politically, but it's very grown up. It's very adult. It's
got
lots of adult themes. Yeah, like it's very dystopian. I think it features torture. It features hospitals being blown up deliberately. Like it's a really. I mean, although having said that, you could just turn on the news and look at something like Syria, and very similar themes are addressed in reality and fiction. But this Paddington Bear thing is a little bit silly, perhaps.
It's really weird, though, that the creator said that he can't imagine what the sex references are, because we have to say that there are sex references, apparently. So, I mean, the point is not that if the sex references are there or not. The point is, they have to be really considered that dangerous for children, or they are quite used to that nowadays in their everyday life.
An issue of a man and a woman shooting another man. I mean, it's 21st century, you know.
I think it's really important that these issues are addressed and children are made aware of them in a humorous way. Like I think to completely, I don't really know what the word is, to completely kind of sterilize everything is, I think wrong. Children need to be aware of the facts.
I mean, at the same time, I have to say, just for the opposite part, that it's correct sometimes protect them from and put filter. Like on the net, this is a huge problem right now as well, how to block them to go to certain sites or network or whatever. And it's a really important campaign, I think. But
absolutely, and but in a world where you can walk into a supermarket and see a pair of boobs on the front page of a paper, how on earth
that's probably
could you
useless.
I think that needs to be the issue that we address before putting
things on
parental
film,
guidance on Paddington Bear.
Yeah,
you know,
or everything, or being more, or everything.
It's just weird. Apparently, in 2013, BBSC did a survey, and 92% of film viewers agreed with their rating of film and video they had seen recently. And I don't know. I don't think it's properly. Like, how can you give Paddington a PG and Mockingjay a 12A? It's just what I don't understand. Like,
the ratings seem convenient, don't they?
Yeah, they're like
accurate.
Yeah, no way. It's like I feel like, with 12A is like, we want to have more money for Mockingjay, have people come, and it's like
and they're well aware that Mockingjay is an immensely popular film within young people.
Exactly. Do you think that
to give it a higher rating
is involved in this?
I feel there is.
Yes, 100%.
If you can have like an adult with a child going to a show, that's that's 2 tickets for you already, rather than just one child.
Very true.
So it's like more money. Moving on to our next story is UKIP, Tories and BNP.
We go back to the story before.
Yeah, I guess we're going to talk about it a little bit more, more in depth. So Mark Reckless, UKIP candidate who left the Tory earlier this year, he has accused former Tory colleagues of being BNP-lite, and in a debate on immigration and migration in the UK, he has also said that EU citizens who have settled in Britain should be repatriated, and which is people believe to come out of the BNP's manifesto. It's just a bit weird. So apparently he said that the Conservatives' policy on immigration is identical to their own, after UKIP and the Tories have been both accused of behaving like the far-right party. BNP has agreed. They told Huffington Post on UK on Wednesday afternoon that the Tory party's rhetoric on immigration was the same to their own. Just to give it
but it's not the same.
It's utterly different.
It's definitely not the same. I mean, not to agree, but just to read what the point of the campaign is. Cutting for the Tories' immigration policy is cutting net immigration from outside the EU to levels not seen since the late 90s, to ease pressure on the schools and hospitals that all hard-working taxpayers rely on. And then they want clamp down on benefits tourism and health tourism, so that the UK only welcomes those who want to work hard and contribute to our society. And this completely different vision, even if I'm an immigrant, so it's quite weird for me to read this, from the British National Party, that specifically said that one end discrimination against the indigenous majority. I think that British and Britons feel really discriminated. Yeah, I really think that. And
to stop
all the immigration. It's a bit different view.
And they said deport bogus seekers who are looking for asylum, ethnic in quotes criminals and Islamists. I mean,
I think this is an interesting one as well. They want to halt the controlled media's deliberate promotion of how do you pronounce that word?
I don't even know. Miscegenation, I think.
I mean,
Miscegenation.
they're criminalising 90% of the country. Like, nobody wants to stop all immigration.
They want to control, and they want to have a kind of census survey that check that the indigenous or the Britons been already
but the thing
majority
is,
in the
Britain
country.
doesn't have an indigenous
it's like we're
population.
back at the Second World War.
It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
But to compare the two, for Reckless to compare the two, just also seems equally as absurd. I mean, has he not read the manifestos?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even the same, you know. They want it just, one is reducing and reducing immigration, one is clamping down on the benefits, one is completely eviction and completely stopping everyone and stopping all immigration. And
it is true that the Tories are moving further right, but that's because of UKIP's influence. It's got nothing to do with the BNP.
What the BNP spokesman Steve Squire said is also that the UKIP's immigration policy is racially biased against white Europeans, which is actually not true, because what Reckless said is that we shouldn't have a discrimination system in favors like of the European or not. They want to apply the same rules. They actually want to pull out of Europe, if I'm not wrong, because they're UKIP. And so they would like to work as the visa works now for immigration. So it doesn't make sense. This is not a discrimination between Europeans and not Europeans. It's a discrimination between Britons and not Britons.
Yeah, absolutely. And my question is, if they think that Britain should repatriate all of our foreign workers, does that mean that millions of British people abroad should urgently be called
back
home?
Yeah.
I mean, it's absurd. We don't live in the medieval times anymore.
Yeah.
We're citizens of the world, and we're citizens of Europe.
I love that way you phrase it, citizens of the world. That's really true.
Well, very.
Yeah, because like every one of us, I mean, like me first person, obviously, but is going abroad to work, and barriers are not what they were. So why build up barriers again? Like,
exactly,
doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, I'm sorry. BNP is saying, you know, UKIP and Tories and Labour all want to be like the BNP because we're right. Okay, and he continues. Our policy is that we don't discriminate. It's a fair and equal policy because for us, it's always been about the sheer numbers, not about where they're from or what colour they are.
They throw around huge, ridiculous statements to cover up for the fact that they don't really have any legitimate policy.
Yeah. And just moving back on to Mark Reckless, he said that long-term EU migrants could be told to leave Britain if UKIP gets into power. He was saying that a Polish plumber who lived in the area with his family could be issued with a fixed period work permits, while those who had been here a long time and integrated in that way, we looked at sympathetically. I mean, what does that mean? Like,
that's the way. That's the line that they decided to use and to keep to decide if someone has the right to stay in or not. But first of all, one is, do you really need 10 years to be considered kind of, I don't know, settle down in the territory? 5 is not enough. If you have work, you've met someone, you have families, 5 is not enough. I know, like, I'm not talking about being eligible for citizenships, because actually, to be, like, fair, he mentioned 10 years to be eligible for citizenship. But even if, like, you have to give a visa, because this word for work permit is a synonym of visa. It's what right now it's called visa. So how you're gonna decide about it? Like, it's really complicated to decide if someone has the right to stay or have to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, you know, I mean, people have been Tories have been talking about him how he just wants to grab a headline, which I think is completely fair to say. I mean, it's just having to get into the papers, and that is true. But at the same time, it's so hypocritical because, in a speech he said a long time ago, he said, "We don't want no more bloody foreigners over here. We got enough bloody foreigners here as it is. Bloody country swarming with ATs and crots and froggies and spagnolis and Brussels sprouts, all coming over here and taking our jobs off us, aren't they?"
Isn't he lovely?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Reducing-
You know what? I think what he's doing, and
Think
what
he'll
he's
be
actually
able
doing
to
a
pay me a ticket.
fairly good job of is creating a them and an us. I
Yeah.
think what the
But
other side needs to do is show that there is no them and us, that we are
Just us.
we're
That's
united.
the secret. When something is not working, you create a two polar thing that
Exactly.
they are
You
opposite.
create an enemy.
Instead, exactly, you create an enemy, and
which doesn't actually
you have to
exist.
fear him, and you give him all the responsibility for what is not working. And that's perfect. Their politics and their policies are not propositive. They are against someone. So they are creating a group based on what's not.
I think the other parties have got this totally wrong. I think even Labour to a certain extent has moved further right in order to cater to this new phase of Britain, but I think they're doing it totally wrong. I think that UKIP have created them and us. What Labour needs to do is take a completely opposite angle and instead show that Britain is still united and that we welcome other people and that we want to create this community as opposed to creating enemies.
And that is true because, I mean...
I think I read an article the other day which I think is totally true. If someone's voting UKIP, they're not going to think, I'll just vote Diet UKIP instead and vote Labour. They've lost those votes and they need to let those go. Instead, we need to hang on to people who do genuinely want Europe, and we want Europeans still travelling around. And I think that they are targeting voters in the wrong way, and that needs to be addressed.
And target young, because apparently, in the last election, we get 44% of 18 to 24 individuals voting national average. That's 44% that only turn out to vote. That's 56 that didn't actually vote. Claim those voters. Don't claim people who are going to go to UKIP, because obviously, if they pick UKIP, they're going to stick to it. But
Just to say,
you need to give people a viable
alternative,
Yeah.
you can't just go, we'll take you back.
other countries have the same problem. I can talk for mine, because obviously I can talk for mine. We had a party that was basing his policies on pulling out of Europe in the election a few years ago. In Italy, by the way, you pointed out that, sorry. And obviously the life of this party was really, really brief, was that limited of the election period and of this hunger that they were helping to build up against politics and corruption, and that was their main point. And the same thing is happening right now as well with another right party in my country that is saying the same thing. The tune is all coming over here and taking our job out of us. Is the same thing. So there are many parties in every country. I think they are trying to pulling out of Europe, and
I think Denmark as well. Denmark and France, I think, have gone particularly far
with
right.
Marine Le
US
Pen.
But US is different now. US is saying we'll give you 5 million to new immigrants. And that's interesting. As an alternative compared to we'll just kick out everyone. Just one last point on Reckless. His comments were filmed, but he says,
But he's
I
denying them
didn't
now,
say
is he
that.
not?
Yeah.
they were twisted. I'm like, how can you twist things that were said on
He's a
TV?
bumbling idiot, isn't he?
It's ridiculous. But back to your point, Sarah, about catering to this population of people who believe immigration is wrong, because you may think they are. But you may think so. But an ICM poll on behalf of think tank British Future found that 25% of Britons think all immigrants should be repatriated, which is a strong number. And just looking at historically, in 1968, Tory MP Enoch Powell made a very famous speech called Rivers of Blood speech, where he said that in the future there'll be violent social unrest across the UK as a result of mass immigration, which he called literally mad, and he proposed voluntary repatriation. And, Nigel Farage has spoke favourably about his speech, supporting the basic principle. But seeing the response from Mark Reckless about how he's being ridiculous, he's being completely racist and completely, horrible comments, that shows, I think, the opposite.
I think they're a bit contradicting each other, because...
Yeah, I mean, you can't say 25 people have the quarter of population of British support, this policy, but you see the reaction of people. I think it shows how the minority speak. It's a minority who wants, immigrants to leave the UK. And the majority, I don't think so.
The point is that they don't want to be targeted as racist, but they actually are acting like it.
Exactly. And I just, I mean, it's like, you don't want to target the minority people who think EU immigration is wrong. It's just, you should look at the statistics, look at the number, look at the reaction of people on Twitter and social media. They don't agree with UKIP, they don't agree with Mark Reckless. So Labour or Tory, stop catering to these individuals, or these suspected individuals who believe that immigration is wrong.
UKIP are very good at appealing to kind of people that get rallied up very easily and don't like to think things through. The typical pub goer. I mean, look at the front page of the Mail or the Independent. Farage has nailed this image of, bumbling chap drinking a pint. Let's talk about immigration, and he's done very well actually in
very confident.
Yeah, in making the British public think that this is a legitimate thing to do, because he's so bumbly, and I think sometimes deliberately they are unclear and kind of absurd in the things that they say, because it makes them more relatable. And well, I mean, all politicians are. Look at Ed Miliband. But I think, people do really look up to him, which is a really scary thing.
When you simplify a concept, it's definitely easier.
That's exactly, they
have the appeal
it
with people. So that's probably their main strength, that the fact that they simplify an idea and you can't get it immediately.
Absolutely.
Whereas, maybe the idea that they are talking about and giving state on that, it's really complicated and should be analysed deeply.
I think the public who are disillusioned with the failing economy, and they're looking for someone to blame. They've found immigration, they've found UKIP, and they think that UKIP is going to be a quick fix to a problem, which is actually, it's going to take years and years to address, and I just don't think that UKIP are capable of doing it. And I think that if they are elected, which I really hope they're not, the British public will realise that a little bit too late.
And the economy is a huge issue, because I think earlier in the news, Cameron said that we are, red lights are flashing about a next recession. I think that's important, looking into that, not looking into how to make sure that we're not going to go through another recession. I think looking into how to stimulate our economies again, that's important. And so looking into immigration is not obviously the best solution. Closing off on Nigel Farage, head of sort of UKIP policy, he says that we respect the rule of law and British justice. He downplays Mark's comments as a minor cause for confusion,
exactly.
which is just really weird. And he said, but talking back on the whole issue of leaving the EU, he says that when we invoke Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty, which sets us off on a 2-year negotiation to leave the UK, part of the renegotiations is that people who are retired from Britain living on the Costa del Sol will also what happens to people from Warsaw living in London. It's a unique situation. But Article 50 says that any member state may decide to withdraw from the Union in accordance with its own requirements for the Constitution. And so, I mean, we'll see how this plays out in the future, especially when it comes to May 2015 elections. Finishing on the story, we'll come back after a few songs. Talking about Russian webcams be spying on webcams all across the world. Chris Hemsworth and Ebola.
Woohoo.
You are listening to The Fourth Estate on Radio Brunel. Here is your next song. This is the Fourth Estate. We are almost halfway through our show. You heard us talk about UKIP, Tory and BNP-lite, and then we talked about a little bit as well as Paddington. Now, we're coming back to talk about Russia's webcam, Chris Hemsworth, and the issue of Ebola aid. Joining me today is Federica and Sarah.
Hello.
Hello, guys.
The issue of Russia, a website containing thousands of live feeds to baby monitors, standalone webcams, and CCTV systems has appeared online.
Very scary.
It's a bit scary because you know,
It's really scary from the fact that UK is involved. Mainly, they said that the screens include office in Warwickshire, homes in Nottinghamshire, and shop interior in London.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's
it's pretty scary.
500 feeds just from the UK alone. 4,000 people in the US, 2,000 in France, and 1,500 in Amsterdam. I mean, in Holland. It's what is this?
But what, do we know who or what is doing it? Because I read that the kit it hadn't been hacked, but rather it just scans for cameras whose passwords have. Is that right?
Yes.
They guess their default password, and because they are probably really, really old devices, and so it's easier for them. The government probably knows actually, or is trying to investigate about it. They know the name of the site, but the BBC deliberately was reading on the article, decided and refused actually to give the name of the site, not to advertise it, because obviously, out of curiosity, you would have just helped them to make actually money out of it and clicked on the site, and it would have been actually really scary, and it's something that you have to be worried about. It's just news that it can be included in all this. The fact and the power of technology to kind of survey us, like
surveillance society. Yeah, it's very scary.
I mean, it is important to know that some showed just an image that didn't really move, and some didn't really appear to be working. But I mean, the main thing is that these it's security, it's surveillance of individuals, and people should know. People should take security really seriously, because apparently these are not really hacked. They're just more that they were just scanned to look for, feeds that weren't really securely passworded. They weren't. And, UK's Commissioner for Information, Christopher Graham, said that, it's really important to set secure password on your devices that have, that are linked to the internet, because, nowadays it's not that hard to access anything on the internet. You just have to...
It's a really sad state of things, but I do think we should all be slightly more sceptical about our technology and who's looking at it.
Yeah, actually, it's really stupid, but it's detail. The fact that it uses the same password for everything as probably the majority of people. I mean, it's not my date of birth, but it's still something that I'm sure someone that know how to use these devices can guess pretty easily.
Yeah.
And most of people think the same, and saying this I can't be targeted because I'm just a common citizen, I'm not that important. But actually, our privacy is really, really important, and we should be more worried
if
about it.
These people are looking at a baby's bedroom in Birmingham, I'm sure they would have no problem with looking at your webcam, Federica. I'm sorry to say.
I really think the same.
Yeah, no,
and
it
this
is scary.
makes it really scary. Yeah.
I think I'm going to put a little sticker over mine next time I'm on the computer. It's a really scary idea, isn't it? That somebody is just watching you. Yeah. And there are ways to do it. I mean, I think I read a long time ago, but about a teenage boy. Did you hear about this, Jim? Who'd hacked into all of the girls in his classroom's webcams and was watching them and then using it to bribe them, which is genius, but morally wrong.
Yeah, morally wrong.
I mean, he was definitely a good hack, but
and people say, spy on me all you want, because I'm an innocent man. I have an open book. Don't have to hide anything. Well, sorry, that's not the best thing to say, because yes, you're
if
you're
you
an
have nothing
man.
to hide, you have nothing to fear.
Well,
but
not true, because look at this. If I can see that you're coming home, 8 p.m. every night, I can target you for a specific reason. I can go to your, I know I know then your routine.
Go
I know
in
what
your
you can do.
house. Someone can just sell the information and
To anyone, and you never know because, and it's like, I think I read a comment online and he's saying that, yes, you think you're innocent, but I can spy on your family member and say like, okay, your father supports so-and-so policy, If you don't do this task for me, like if you don't bomb this, this place, I will expose your father as being so-and-so thing. It's not about you anymore. It's about your collective individuals, collective family members who have things to hide. And it's that issue. They are not able to use what you do against you, but they can use what other people do against you. And that's the issue. It's not about your own privacy. It's about everyone's privacy and everyone's security. And it's terrifying now.
I mean, to not put alarmism on this, because it's actually pretty worrying. We use technology in our everyday life all the time. Like, if they want to check my phone, it's with me all the time. They know exactly what I'm doing and at what time. But just to not do alarmism, we can say that actually these devices were pretty old. So, and they weren't protected by software, as most of our devices are. And they had this pretty easily default password to guess. So, yeah, we actually can do a lot to protect our devices and our privacy. We just should be aware of this.
Be savvy.
And
I think that many people aren't. I mean, I'm not particularly tech savvy. I've never put a password on things like a webcam. I wouldn't know how to do it. And I think that many people would be in my predicament. So I think we need to all teach ourselves. It's very important.
Anyone listening in, do change your password back. Change your password right now. Do it now. Moving on to a lighter story, another sexier story. Chris Hemsworth has been crowned.
That's interesting.
Why wasn't this front page news? I don't know.
He's been crowned People's Sexiest Man Alive. And
hang on, is Chris the one in the Hunger Games, or is that his brother?
That's his brother.
Chris that changes things.
Chris's story.
Oh, you prefer the guy? You prefer Liam Hemsworth?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
unless he is more towards your age range, I guess.
Federico,
I have to say that I actually
debate.
have a preference. Yeah, that's a teen debate, definitely. But come on, I didn't left my teens really for a long time. I actually rather Ryan Gosling that pull out. How can you turn down People magazine? Like, how can you say to People magazine, oh no, I don't really want to be the sexiest
focusing
man
on
alive.
his political career, you know?
Oh yeah, so there's like...
They were saying
he's too serious for it.
Too artsy. I mean, what is artsy?
It's not bosh.
What's wrong with being artsy and artsy? I mean, not artsy.
It's very elusive, isn't he?
Yeah. So the list includes Chris Pratt from, Parks and Recreation.
Ryan Gosling just lost all the point turning down this.
Yeah. Also, Jamie Dornan, which is going to be appearing in 50 Shades of Grey.
That we are waiting for is gonna come out it's gonna come out the Valentine's Day in 2015. Come on, how can you not know that?
Oh, I know that, but I don't know.
He's just acting coy, of course he knows.
It's gonna he booked already to take
absolutely.
Yeah, of course. And we've got Blake Shelton from The Voice and Bradley Cooper. I mean,
I've genuinely only heard of Bradley Cooper.
That's interesting.
Who decides on this list? Who do the public vote, or is there a team of judges?
Actually, the question is, do you think
a team of horny women?
Yeah.
Good question is, I'm
sorry for
define sexy, Jim. What's sexy?
I don't know. And the thing is, why are we having this thing anymore in the 21st century? Why are we having people, rating men?
You're rating women as well.
Every
year, every country has Miss whatever, like...
Yeah, which is cool because people...
It's different, Federica.
No.
Men and women.
Oh, yeah, because, women in bikini, it's fine, this is audience, but men on the, front page is not okay.
But, I mean, Federica, you make a cool point because people's contest for women it's not sexiest woman alive. It is most beautiful woman alive. I mean, where is the equality of
Is there no
words?
sexiest woman alive? That's interesting. I'm going to Google it.
No, it's not sexiest woman alive. But I think there is.
There must be.
There will be for FHM and
I'm sure there is.
GQ. But I mean, for it's just issue. Why do we still have this list of rating people based on their appearance? I want but why are they even celebrities? I mean. Why not have someone who's not, really famous in the public eye, find someone ordinary on the street and say, Europe?
It happens, actually. It happens. Like, don't you remember the case? I can't remember. It was in the US, and this man had been arrested, and his picture went viral, and definitely the web went mad for that. And he had a contract a few weeks after as a model. It was
People found
just arrested.
a criminal attractive?
Yeah, they did, and they retweeted his picture many
It's the
times.
rugged look,
That
isn't it?
many times
The
that he
bearded.
got a contract as a model.
That
Wow.
story. A police officer in Brazil has been called the hottest police officer in the world.
Yeah,
I mean, my issue is how can you define hotness or sexiness? It's like voting for a most intelligent person in the world. I mean, could you do that? Have we done that? Who is the most intelligent person in the
No,
world?
not
Does anyone
Stephen
know?
Hawking. Stephen
we
Hawking,
give
I
the
believe.
Nobel, but like we don't vote for it.
I think it's oversimplification of
Yeah.
aesthetics, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't believe in this list anymore. I mean, why do we have the
Oh,
list in the
sexy,
first
yeah.
place? It's
Sorry, Federica's just showing me pictures
Stop
of Bradley
showing
Cooper.
Yeah, I'm
So
sorry.
unprofessional.
We had a
on
bit
radio.
of blackout about the face of Bradley Cooper. What a shame. So I just remind her.
Yeah. There
Who
he
is
is.
he, Bradley Cooper?
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to our next story, a bit more. I think a bit more important. Matt,
Well,
Yeah.
debatably.
It was just a break. 'cause
Yes, that's one break. Matt Damon and Will Ferrell, along with I think Viola Davis from
Sandy
from
Newton was
from,
there.
Yeah, a lot of people. They have published supported a video.
Morgan Freeman,
Yes.
just throwing celebrity names out there.
So 16 celebrities and 2 Liberian health workers in a video which convey their impatience with the recent rhetoric about Ebola that's uncommon among global players of One. It's a group called One, One's stature, and it's it was released along with One's Ebola response tracker, which allows people to look how much money was said that I would get promised by the government to give, and where it's actually been given out to. And, so a similar timing was also a group called Africa Responds, a grassroots group, and they also published a video about this. So before we go into what they're talking about, it's important to know that I think Africa wasn't about celebrities. It's about people who were part of Africa. People are part of all these nations who were who were dealing with Ebola, and then they had people who were local activists, local health workers in that video. I mean, it's that issue of, do we need celebrities to make our message more important, or
You know what? I think celebrity endorsement of any good cause, for instance, Emma Watson endorsing feminism, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it can do any harm.
I think it's a huge thing
I
being a
think-
spokesperson when you
Absolutely,
are actually...
because people do. It's a sad state of things, but I mean, how long did we just talk about the sexiest man alive? Clearly, people are interested, even intelligent people, which we are really interested in celebrities and celebrity culture.
Yeah.
And they do have a remarkable influence, which I think they should absolutely use to do good if they possibly can.
Yeah, I think it's even better that, like, they have loads of money, so they have to donate and blah, blah, blah. But the fact that sometimes they use their face, being aware and know the power of this and their influence is good.
The risk is with Bob Geldof's
Band-Aid, that's
Band-Aid,
what I wanna come to as well.
they're trivializing and stereotyping, and I think it's a very outdated method of doing things. I mean,
Another thin line.
does
yeah?
it snow in Africa? Well, yes, actually it does. Africa is a huge continent, and to club them all together as one huge race is inaccurate and
I'll come back to that.
offensive,
a little
actually.
bit. But just going back on to Ebola. So with One's tracker, they found that the US, for example, has made pledges for $572 million, but it's actually only dispersed 40% of that sum. Now, what's quite cool to note, I think, is that when you compare how much money was given against gross national income, the UK is at the top. They held the honour for giving the most based on national income. So
Can I say just a little thing
proud of that,
that
I guess.
no one is talking about? We keep talking about what UK and US have done, what Europe. No one talk about Cuba. Do you know, like,
Cuba?
that? Yeah, it's Cuba that helped and had the biggest number of health worker in Africa right now. This small little island is helping Africa more than everyone else with
Wow.
physical people.
That's interesting to know. I mean, I think it's
you can throw money at the problem and hope it goes away.
I look for the numbers, but really, Cuba gave a huge help at
I think that's because of the way the media wants to portray Cuba, the issue of US and Cuba being a state where you can't really visit unless you're like have a possible approval from the US government. And I think that's just the issue. You don't report Cuba's good deeds. It's helping the stigma of Cuba being a bad nation, a bad state. And yeah, that's an interesting point. Talking about Ebola, so these two groups, they're urging people to sign a petition demanding that leaders take action to combat the spread of the disease, and they want to combat the issue that yes, we would like your support from these global powers, but stop saying that you guys are trying to cure it because you guys took so long to get into our country. Like apparently things like Doctors Without Borders, they came on the ground almost immediately. Yeah. But then it took almost half a year for the funding to actually increase in the continent to try and manage the spread of Ebola.
Had we stepped up to the mark immediately, as soon as the outbreak broke out, we would not be seeing the epidemic that we are faced with today.
We actually. And
it's the us and them again. Yeah. They had Ebola, and now we all have Ebola, and it's an issue that we all have to address because it's knocking on our front door.
So, saying about what I was talking before, Cuba, I'll put is an article from The Guardian of Sunday, 12th of October of this year, and they said but big hitters such as China or Brazil or former colonial powers such as France and the UK have not been stepping up to the plate. Instead, the single biggest medical force on the Ebola front line has been a small island, Cuba.
Wow, that's very interesting.
So, that's the nation has 11 million people, and definitely. The brigade is of 165 Cuban health worker in Sierra Leone.
And none have died?
I don't know. That was of the 12th of October, I don't really know. But it's just to check the number and not to say,
It's incredibly brave, isn't it?
But no one, apart from the news out of at the moment, no one talked about it. But it's actually a huge help because what they need is health worker as well, not just money. And
you can throw as much money as you want at the problem, but you need people to physically be aiding the sick. Otherwise, nothing's going to be resolved at all. Yeah. And it's those brave people that are making all of the difference.
Because they held fundraisers, held meetings. But coming back to your earlier point about Band-Aid and Bob Geldof, so it's an issue of these songs stereotyping Africa as a country with with problems because
in the title, do they know it's Christmas time? I know it's supposed to be a charitable thing, but they're creating a them as if Africa is some kind of foreign, completely alien land, and they don't even know what Christmas is. It doesn't even snow, and it's so silly because.
I haven't read the song, but that's pretty bad if it's
the song.
No. That's okay.
I'm really sorry that I just sang on air.
Yeah, no worries.
You didn't realize that. Yeah.
So it's like people think I still think it's still apparent today, but a study in 2001 found that 80% of citizens in the UK associate the developing world and specifically Africa with poverty, hunger, and need.
And it's just so inaccurate.
It's inaccurate. Yes. Poverty is it's a global issue. Everyone in the world is suffering with poverty and hunger and need. And I think to have it just focus on Africa is not good enough. And the issue is that, with Band-Aid is that, Ethiopia had some famine victims, but the song then carried across the entire continent of Africa. People then just associate Africa with the entire famine. And that's not true. It's just specific nations, specific areas are...
The same was for Ebola. Ebola is in Sierra Leone, Guinea, and this is West Africa. There was a picture of a map, mainly of Africa, that was really, really evident and was presenting this concept perfectly. And West Africa is a small place composed by states, but it's not the whole continent.
It's like saying that the whole of Europe has bird flu. Well, actually, but
yeah,
you know, it's like saying the whole of Europe had Ebola. Even, I mean, you wouldn't. You'd say there's been an outbreak in France or Italy or Britain.
Spain, yeah.
You know, because we're very definitive countries. But for some reason, Africa has been grouped up inside
like
Western
Nigeria,
lines.
that is a neighbor of this West African countries that are actually the focus in this moment for the Ebola cases. Has had I can't remember how many, but not more than like 20 cases. Like, it is still an Ebola-free country considered, and is a neighbor of that state. So I was like,
I think, and in many cases, isn't Europe at more risk of getting Ebola than some of Africa? But then again, it's the power of grouping the them and the us, as we discussed
that's
before.
just always wrong.
And it has a effect not just on on just like perception, but also effects on on tourism. People won't want to go to Africa if it's like for people who are poor, and like it's affect tourism, investments, and opportunities. And I mean, coming back to Bob Geldof, I mean, he has a really weird way of talking about this song. I mean, he's saying, it doesn't matter if you don't like the song or you hate the song, just buy the song, I urge everyone to buy the song, to download it, don't look it up on YouTube. And it's like,
it's reiterating false stereotypes about, and it's actually pretty racist, actually.
But I'm just saying, like,
really derogatory.
He's saying, buy the song. I'm like, why buy the song? Donate your money to a different organization.
He's rich, he's wealthy enough. Why doesn't he just give his money away? Like,
yeah, it's an interesting song, but I mean, why should everyone buy the song? Instead, use your money to support, people who are doing work in Ebola, not just money. It's like, put it to good use. Don't just buy a song.
Did he say how much of?
So he said it's about £2 or so. But I mean, I want to know how much it's going to charity.
Yeah, how much is going into charity out of the profit that they're gonna have out of the song.
I mean, it's just like...
It says here that Band Aid and the related live concerts raised over $100 million for the Ethiopian famine victims. Which is absolutely worth doing. But I think the issue also was the fact that the song suggests that the whole of Africa cannot help themselves, that they are totally reliant on Western wealth, which is not true, and I think that people took issue with it. Particularly, did you read about this, Jim? There was a.
But can't be that he said to buy the song, because actually I'm reading his status right now. When he said to support the cause, it really doesn't matter if you hate this song or you don't like this song. You have to buy this thing. I really urge everyone, don't download it. Don't look at it on YouTube. It's a couple of quid. It's a great thing to do at Christmas. So can't be like, if you take the phrase like buy the song out of this context, it actually sounds even worse than what is it. In this case, it's like maybe they raise money buying the song and then they give money out of that. But if you check the song on YouTube or you download it, they won't actually have profit out of it to give money for the Ebola cause. Maybe could that be?
Yeah, I mean, the song online is about less than £1, 99p. The CD is actually about £4, and they're waiving the VAT on the record with all money going towards the cause. But the issue is that they said the money raised by the record, which I think once they cover the expense of recording and promotion, then it was a charity. And I just think
it's also promotion of the celebrity, though, isn't it? Let's not divulge away from that point. Like Bob Geldof is getting a huge amount of press, and as are all the celebrities that took part.
There was actually someone who turned down the offer of taking part of that.
I think a few people have.
Adele turned down. That's the big news. She turned down this recording art. I think.
And the reason was exactly of this.
Adele's a smart lady. She knows what's wrong, what's good. She knows what to do. She's a smart woman. And coming on to our last story before we close our show is the issue of a Barbie doll, a new Barbie doll. I don't know why I'm saying that way. But
she's not Barbie at all, is she?
She's not.
Totally different.
It's not 1969.
Nicolai Lamb, who's an artist and researcher, he has created a doll at the apparently more realistic, complete with acne, cellulite, and stretch marks, because he was angry about and a little bit frustrated about Barbie's frighteningly disproportionate body. So, I mean, for £4, children can customize their dolls with marks commonly found on bodies of all shapes and sizes.
You buy the doll mark free, and then you get to stick additional bits and bobs onto her. You know, if she's having a spotty day, stick a spot on her. If she's fallen over, you can stick a bruise on her. I think it's great.
I think it's great too.
You know, Barbie is this perfect archetypal woman.
There's always been this
blonde hair and a tiny waist, and children play with Barbie and think, oh golly, I want to be like a Barbie one day.
But don't you say the same of fairy tales, though? Even if they are a better model than Barbie.
I mean, I think, it's interesting. Children do play games and watch films which suggest that this wonderful, prosperous future in adulthood is out there, and I think the reality is sometimes somewhat different. But yeah, like, I think things like this, I'm not saying we scrap Barbie. I loved Barbie, but I think it's good to have an alternative, and it's good to give,
since you're like a child, an alternative model of what.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same, I think, issue that came out and is still out, I think, with top model and their size. And there was huge thing about a Calvin Klein model, which I can't remember her name right now, but
she was plus size, but she was still,
she was like considered plus size when she was size 40. That's, for me, is 40, but I don't know exactly.
Over 40, is that a 12 or a 10?
I haven't a clue.
Jim doesn't know.
Anyway, she didn't actually look like plus size, or what we in a normal life can we define plus size. So I think is an everyday life issues that we have right now.
You know, I think it is becoming an increasing thing that children need to be aware that skinny's fine, fat's fine, medium's fine, just so long as you have a healthy attitude.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think a doll like this is a really good product.
Like, not to play with perfection.
Whether people will buy it or not is a different thing.
I was going to say, where's the Ken version of this? I mean, where's the guy version of this?
Oh no, the guy has to be perfect.
What?
Come on!
I mean,
I'm joking.
There's an action man
joking
for boys, but is there a more effeminate action man that, you know, slightly more effeminate boys can play with?
I think that actually
do they have to aspire to this masculine
six pack and math?
That's interesting. Maybe that's something that maybe there's a gap in the market there.
Yeah, we should address this
We
issue
absolutely
as well.
should. We need a gay Ken.
Exactly.
A gay action man.
I always assumed Ken was kind of a bit gay as well.
Like, actually, Ken, you well, I don't know about you,
so
but I always
appeal
thought
the researchers Nikolai
Lum
for we would like to have a gay Ken, please. Mr. Lam, just to stick to reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
affirmative action.
I think so, and I think it's not only just Barbies, but also just models. Because I mean, looking at models nowadays, yes, it's a bit females are all about the issue of plus size and really skinny and anorexic. With guys, it is weird, like in between having six packs and really buff bodies to now boys are super skinny and super pouty. Like, what is this difference between having muscles and then being skinny but looking really for some reason they always look so depressed and so sad in those pictures they take of models. Smile a little bit.
I think that the stereotype of beauty are valid both for women and men nowadays. So we are talking of the Barbie. There was a model for this kids, girls. But I think that even men have their stereotype. So we should address this issue as well from that.
All right, that draws our show to an end. You guys, thank you for listening in. This is the Fourth Estate. I was joined today by Federica and Sarah. So, two ladies, say goodbye to our audience.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
And until next time, we have our next show on Monday at, I think, 3:30 p.m. We'll talk about the top headlines and front pages of the weekend, and what each publication has decided to cover. And today, if you weren't able to tune into our show, we'll be on a podcast on YouTube later. Just search the Fourth Estate team on YouTube and you'll find us. Until then, this is Jim Wong and have a good afternoon. Our next show is The Gentleman and Friend with Johnny Knight. Thank you for listening in.